All right, welcome back. Dave here, Stances Everything, and we are back in the garage working on my 1951 GMC truck that is behind the camera. Okay, so last video we determined the tire size that I need for my Detroit steel wheels. If you remember, that tire was way too big, and we are going to go with a 255/40 18, I believe. That'll be the size that I'm going to go with. I'm going to get the guys to do a little bit more of a white wall on that tire just to match that one. The 255/40 comes with a little bit smaller of a white wall, but I want them to match, and I reached out to the guys at Diamondback Tires, and they said no problem. So I'm hoping to order those at the beginning of January. Right now it is December 7th, I think, so we're going to have to wait for the wheel saga to continue in later episodes. Today we're going to fix, or start to fix, my bed mounts. Bed mounts up front there, they're cool. They're just cylinders with a washer on the top, and you know, that's going to be fine. The original bed mounts were actually just blocks of wood, so I think those will be cool. I'll probably add a little bit of rubber just to help, you know, reduce noise and stuff like that. And that'll scooch the bed up a little bit, which will actually give us a little bit more clearance for those. So I think that's going to be perfectly fine. That's just exhaust tubing cut. And again, that's really going to be fine because this bed isn't going to hold a ton of weight. However, I do not like how this looks. Now, I put these mounts on the frame a long time ago. It was one of the first things I made for the truck. And I'm not really sure what I was thinking, but they're just too low. The sizing is okay, except this one hangs off a little bit. That's partially to do with this bed being a little oblong. This bed I put on bed sides when I got it. It was in rough shape. I did not pay a lot of money. I think I paid about $200 for this bed. So I really can't complain about how crooked it is, but I definitely do need to kind of work on a couple of things. So this, you can see that's not too bad. Like, I don't hate that. I'm not really too worried about that bolt and that bolt visually being in the same position because the bed is so crooked. You can kind of see how it walks through there. That's probably going to stay, but I do want to build a little bit of adjustment in these mounts to hopefully try and make that a little bit better. But again, I'm not really trying to fool anyone. This bed was rough when I got it, and it's still pretty rough, but not quite as rough. So I have tube there that I put on just to get the truck sort of out, make sure that everything was more or less okay. But as you can see, especially with this one, it doesn't look really good. And I was kind of running out of space to make everything work. So I'm going to build some mounts that will give me some more space to work with, especially on this top side, and hopefully line things up. Now, you're probably wondering why I don't cut this off and weld it up higher. This chassis is all painted, and as I've said 1,000 times, there's fuel line running through this frame rail, and that is a gas tank, obviously. So for obvious reasons, I don't really want to weld to my frame. So what I'm thinking of doing is, this is a drawing of what I've got going on here. This is my frame. This is my current mount. I'm going to make a plate. That bottom plate is going to be the size of this bottom mount because really it doesn't need to be bigger. Then I'm going to do another plate that's going to be slightly longer to give me some room for adjustment. And then I'm going to do a support. Now, I'm going to probably do a support on an angle just because it'll look cooler. But if I can't figure that out, I'll just go straight up and down, and that'll be fine. Obviously, I want them to be kind of similar side to side. So I'm going to have to make sure to match up the angles if I do that. But first things first, I got to find some plate to do the bottom and the top. And for that, I'm going to consult my metal pile. So give me a second to pull a few pieces out, and then we'll go on the bench, which I've kind of cleared up. You probably noticed it messy from my last videos, and then we'll see what I've got to work with. Okay, so I found some metal we can start with. Eons ago, I started making this. You can tell by my crappy welds and the crudeness of it. This was originally going to be a compressor mount, but then when I made it, it was really heavy and didn't look great, and I ended up modifying some other pre-built ones instead, cutting them and welding them. And so now I have this piece of metal left over. I do have a bigger sheet of it right here, but like with everything else, I like to reuse as much material as possible. That's why everything here is full of scrap and things that I've messed around with, just to see what I can do. So I am probably going to use this piece of metal, but let me dig around a bit and see if I got anything else. After a quick look, I think I'm going to start with this piece. This plate down at the bottom is 5x3, and I can definitely get this out of this piece of material here, even if I just slice it there and kind of work with what's available here. So I'm going to dice this up a little bit, hopefully cut my top and bottom plates, and then we'll come back and see what I've got going on here. This early bit I will time lapse. You just me scavenging some metal out of this and getting it as straight as possible, you know, all that jazz. So let me put the camera somewhere on the bench and then we can get to cutting. Okay, you guys ever start something and then get a little bit way into it and realize it was a dumb idea and you should have rethought how you're going to do something? That's what happened with this. I started cutting it. I've got my two pieces cut here. That was originally going to be the two I was going to use. This one was going to go on the bottom. This was going to go on the top, and then I was going to gusset it somehow across. And I actually went here, wrote it out, did some blueprints, and then I got to thinking, first, I didn't really like this piece when I drew it out. And then second, cutting it by hand, it's pretty close, you know what I mean? Like, this is pretty straight. If I was going to weld other stuff to it, I'd be able to kind of get these waves out of it. But ultimately, I wasn't super happy with it. And this material is thicker than it needs to be. So what I did was I went to my local metal shop and I got two pieces cut. Now, I think I'm actually going to go with the thinner one, definitely to start with. But I want to get a thicker piece too, just in case I change my mind or I make the thinner one and it doesn't work. Going from a metal supermarket is way cheaper than anywhere else, so this didn't cost me too much money, so I'm not too worried if I only end up using one piece or if I end up using two pieces. All of that being said, also I revised my design, so let's go over to the whiteboard and see what I'm working with now. Originally, I had the two pieces and a weird gusset going here and nothing down here, and I realized that that would probably hold my bed up, but it's not really the strongest way to go about things. So now I'm going to do 1, 2, and 3. And then I'm either going to run a piece straight up and down or a piece on an angle. I'm not 100% sure yet. And what's actually going to be my deciding factor is where the bolts line up and my access to them. I would really like to just be able to put a wrench on them and not have to monkey around too much. So I'm leaning towards a piece like this. But we'll see if I end up doing something straight like that. I'm going to definitely do this part first. That's kind of my goal today, to mock this up and, you know, tack it together, bend it up, and then put it in the truck, figure out where all my bolt holes are going to land. Obviously, I do have a hole there that I can use, and then I might end up doing diagonal holes actually, or maybe 2, 4. I'm not 100% sure yet, because obviously I put this hole in kind of to be able to land this piece as best I could. And so it is kind of where it is. I would also love to be able to put a slotted hole in the new piece that I make, just to match everything up. But first, let's bend up the pieces that I have. So I'm gonna get it on the vise and we're gonna draw some stuff up, and then we'll come back and I'll explain what I'm about to do. Okay, so I've drawn out what I want to do here. So the bottom piece is going to be 5 inches. Then I'm going to have a 3-inch piece that goes here, and then I am going to have a 7-inch piece across the top. Now, the easiest way for me to actually do that is going to be marking it all on this one piece, so that I don't have to do a bunch of cuts. And then I'm going to either slot, I'm probably going to slot this piece and break it that way. I don't have a metal brake that can bend this straight up, and then weld it back. But the first thing I'll probably do is cut this piece in half so that I have enough material to do both setups. And then I'm not going to have enough out of this particular piece to make my gussets, but I do think I have some other material that I can use for that. So I'm going to put the camera somewhere where you can kind of see everything that's going on. I'll keep my blueprints out of the way so they don't catch on fire from sparks. We'll make some cuts and then hopefully bend one up and actually get it test fit in the truck. I'm going to focus this video on showing the progress for one, knowing that it's going to be a repeat on the second side. That'll just kind of cut down on my editing and make sure that I actually hit my goal, which has been more or less every Sunday. Yeah, so let's put the camera on the tripod and do some work. Little bit of planning goes a decent way, I guess. So I've got this first one bent up. We've got the 7 on the top, the 5 on the bottom. You can see here I ended up cutting a fair deal across, and then I just put 2 tacks in the end just to keep it together for now. I am going to weld all across there. It worked out pretty well there. It is not perfectly square. You can see that I kind of adjusted it a little bit, but it's pretty square, honestly, for bending it in a vise. And I made sure that it is level. It does, you know, if you look at it, it's not perfectly square. I said that 3 times now, but once it's mounted in the bed, you're not really going to notice. However, I do think that I'm going to put something here. I haven't quite figured out just yet what we're going to do, because we're going to put this piece that I've made here into the truck and see if it holds the bed up and just lines up as I think it should. I think it will, but yeah, definitely I'm going to mock this thing up, and then we can kind of reconvene and see if this is going to work. We've got everything put into place here, and you know, it looks better than just that sort of flat bar there, but it's still not super awesome. I think honestly the best solution, and I'm totally not doing that at this point because it's actually a ton of work, would be to move this over, and then if I moved it over, I could trim the mounts and things would look a little bit better. As it sits right now, I am going to mark where this is currently lining up and try and slot it and then trim off the end of the mount there, because I know it's not going to really kick over too much more there. I'll probably leave a little bit, so I won't trim it right to the bone, but I'll leave it a little bit so I have some adjustment for when I do the other side. Actually, realistically, I'm going to do both sides and then trim it. Anyway, I'm going to put some holes in it so this can be firmly mounted. I'm going to finish welding it because I'm pretty okay with where it is right now. Mark some spots for some holes there, and then I am going to put a gusset in it so I can have this nice and fixed. Mark where I want the bed to be, mark where I want this slotted hole to be so that everything can get bolted together, and then go through and weld this all up and put that gusset in that I was talking about, and then we will kind of wipe to both mounts sort of done. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill some stuff, and then we'll come back to me marking some stuff out and doing a little bit more work. All right, so I've drawn a couple lines here. Again, they're not the best lines, but mentally it'll help me figure out how I'm going to do this. I want to put an oval hole in. So I'm going to drill 2 holes, and I'm going to use this tiny cutting disc to hopefully connect them rather than drilling, and then we'll knock this out and we'll have something oval that'll work. Not going to be the prettiest, but it'll give me the adjustment I need if I need to move this bed around at any point. So camera will go there, I think, and then we will get into making a hole here, and then hopefully sort of everything is working out. We can bolt this one in and then start on the next one. Like I said, I'm going to do the next one off camera so we can jump to both of them being finished and everything bolted in, and then we'll finish things up. So we've got the one side pretty snug right now. So, I mean, if I'm to be 100% honest, I really wish I had tried to test fit the bed before I put that mount on there. I'm going to say that for the 11,000th time. But I think for now, you know, I'll paint that black because I'm not going to spend the money getting a custom match can for that because I don't know how long these mounts are going to live long term in the truck after it's on the road. But I'm not going to let this slow me up from getting the truck on the road as quickly as possible. So I'm pretty okay with how this is going to look. I am going to get some rubber to go between the mount and the bed. Probably something like this. That'll help me sort of shim it up a little bit. I'm going to get some rubber for the front too, just to reduce squeaks and give me a little bit of play. I think what I might end up doing actually is, if I can't find something on Amazon, I might just get some like rubber gym mat off Kijiji or something and cut it up. So the next thing for me to do, and I'm going to do this later and off camera as I mentioned, is replicate what I did onto this side over here. This side's actually going to be the easier side, and it's going to look a lot better because this side of the bed is just sort of in better shape. This bed has some damage up there in the header panel, obviously a bit of damage down here. The bed sides, I did measure them to what they were like I traced out what it was originally. So I think really a lot of the damage is in the corners, sort of all around, and that's what's kind of skewing it. But anyway, let's come back later with this side done, and we can trim it up, grind down some welds, and sort of call this almost a wrap. But I need to put this gusset in. I'm going to go with this gusset as well. So we got to figure that out. So I've got some work to do tonight. Today's Monday. It's my Sunday. I pick up my son in about half an hour, and then I come back out in the garage later tonight, and I'm going to make that other mount up. All right, picking up where we left off, I have made the bracket for the other side. So you can see that I have it in here now. It's sitting where it needs to be. Everything is bolted up. I've slotted the space for it, and because I put the slots in, I can actually line these bolts up pretty reasonably, even though these boxes will be a little bit off. That really sort of makes a visual difference. Before, when I just had the round circle spacer, I couldn't line the bolts up and it looked kind of jank. While there is still going to be a discrepancy along the bottom, this will help things look a lot better. So the next thing for me to do is to remove this, and then I am going to gusset it. I had previously said that I was going to do maybe an angled piece like this, or a piece straight up and down. I'm going to keep it simple, and I am going to do an interior gusset that goes from here across to just keep things from flexing. Once I get it on the bench, you will see what I mean. And because, again, I'm focusing on this video on getting one of these done and showing the progress, we're going to start with this one, which is actually the second one I've done, so it's a little bit better than that one, although that one's not too bad. We're going to get a gusset put on this one, grind it down, shape it up, and finish this one in this video. And then in the next video, I will show these all painted and done. While we move on to the next thing, I am not 100% sure what the next thing is going to be, just with time and the holidays coming up. So I'm not 100% sure what the next thing is going to be, but we will figure something out, because we do have all of these things to get through, plus a few other things that I've forgotten and I need to add back on. So without further ado, let me pull this off, get over to the bench, and keep working. All right, we're back, and first of all, I need to apologize for the atrocious state of my garage lately. I've just been hammering away, and I haven't really had a chance to clean it, and everything gets messy behind me. I promise for the next video, I'll spend some time cleaning it up so I look like less of a hack. But let's get to the continuation of making the bracket to mount my bed. So off camera, just to save you a bunch of grinding and watching me sort of fiddle around, I made these two gussets. I just realized that I should probably trace these so I don't have to measure them again for the other side. So I'm going to do that before I weld these in. But really what I'm going to do, put a magnet on the back side of this. I beveled it already, and just run a bead, and this will make this bracket way stronger. And then I can kind of round it out and finesse things the way I like to whenever I make a bracket. So let me put the camera somewhere where you can kind of see the whole process here. We'll do this up, and then hopefully I can clean this all up and really call making this one a wrap for this video. That's my goal for tonight. No thank you to the Maple Leafs for keeping me inside a little bit longer tonight. They lost 5-4, I believe, or was it 6-5, something like that, to the Columbus Blue Jackets. A heck of a try of a comeback, but then they blew it at the end. That is the life of a Leafs fan, and if you are not a Leafs fan, feel free to chirp me in the comments. All right, let's put the camera somewhere and get to work. I'm going to give you guys a quick look before I clean things up with the grinder. So I'm not actually too bummed about how that weld turned out. There was a little bit of starting and stopping as I kind of lost my place when I was going. This one, the bevel wasn't quite as deep, so it didn't lay in there quite as nice. So probably when I clean this up a little bit, I might do another pass on that side. But I've gone ahead and done both sides now. So all that's left really is to clean this up some, which I'm definitely going to do with the grinder for a bit. And then we can kind of call this done. I would touch it right now, but it's really hot. But I feel like it's a lot more solid with the gusset in, so I'm pretty happy with that. And it's definitely not going to move around. I know that I'm not going to put a ton in this bed because there's no floor in it right now. But I definitely wanted something that wouldn't bend. And I did find actually when I put the slot in, this end did want to bend a bit. So with the gusset in there, that's going to totally stop that from happening. So let me clean this up, and then we'll come back on camera. I'll show you what it looks like afterwards, and we will wrap this video up. Alright, I've probably spent way too much time cleaning up this bracket for where it's going to be and how much view time it's going to get in consideration to the rest of the truck, but that's fine. I'm going to show you where I'm at right now, and then I'm going to point out a flaw that most of you have probably already noticed if you're watching this video. Okay, so I have cleaned this up. I'm pretty happy with how it cleaned up. It cleaned up okay, all things considered. I know some of you wouldn't grind down welds, but I do, and I like to kind of see if I missed any spots, if it didn't penetrate. That welder is not super powerful, so this thickness is honestly probably about as thick as I can go. And then if you consider that these are actually thicker, I was pushing it pretty hard, so I had to go pretty slow with the heat up and just make sure I got some penetration, but this is pretty solid so far. The gusset definitely helped strengthen it across here and in the area after the slot. You can also see that I've got some marks on here. I do want to kind of clean this slot up a little bit. I don't think I'm going to film that anymore, but just, you know, I am going to clean it up. You might see it. But the main flaw is that the gusset really could have kind of started here and come across to brace this a little bit, because you can see that this area here, that's a weak spot, no doubt about it. But what I'm actually going to do, put a mounting hole in here. I already have a hole in the side of my frame for that, for when I ran some wires. So my compressor wires, they start on actually that side of the truck. So they run in there through my frame. They come back to the end here, and then they go through this back panel and up through here, exit out through here, and go to my compressor. That gives me a nice hidden way of running compressor wires. To do that, I had to use a wire snake, and I had to put a hole in the side of the frame here to snake it through, and I'm actually going to use that hole to slip a bolt through and tighten everything up. So once we have it bolted here and down there, it'll keep it from pulling away here, which will reduce, you know, any flex that we have at the end there. And with it bolted to the bottom, it'll be, you know, triple strong. It actually makes this lower mount redundant, but it's already on the frame and I'm not cutting it off, so I might as well use it. So let me do that final thing, and then we'll get this side with the one I've already prepared bolted up in raw state. Do a little bit of a walk around video showing everything kind of done and in. We will add a thing on there that says to paint these mounts. We will check off building these mounts, and then we'll call this video a wrap. Alright, I'm back, and I definitely probably spent too much time on this bracket, but hey, what the heck, it turned out pretty good, I must say, for something that started as a piece of flat plate. So if you remember, this was what we were looking to replace, make it a little bit taller, a little bit more versatile, and this is what we ended up with. So I've gone ahead now and cleaned up everything as much as is reasonable for where this is going to be. And I did put a hole in the backside there, so this can mount to the frame and it's going to mount on the bottom, which will give it some rigidity along with these gussets. I got the oval slot in there for the top bolt. It's more than large enough, even though it does taper a little bit. So I'm going to have some adjustability there. You know, you put a washer in there, everything's fine. And for those of you who are curious, I put that on there. We are also level. So everything on this one is good, so I'm going to bolt it back in the truck, and then we can finally film an outro. We're at the end of the video. I have the one side bolted in now. Every bolt that needs to be in is in, and it's more or less mocked up and ready to go. Hopefully it'll be red enough for you to see, and I don't need to use my light. There's the mount sitting in there. I've got the bolt through the top, and then it goes through the top section. You can see that I do have range there if I do need to move the bed forward, which is exactly what I wanted. Put some weight on it. There is some flex still. If I flex right at the end here, I'm not really going to be putting anything out here. If I go right on the bed, you know, a little bit of flex, but nothing too bad. And again, I do not have a bed floor in this truck. The first season the truck's on the road, it is not going to have a bed floor. And even so, with these notches, I am not going to be carrying a ton of stuff in the bed, so not really concerned about the minor amount of flex things have. Once I get this other side in and sort of sorted out, I am going to measure to make sure that everything is measuring out okay. But I think it is, and I think, you know, if it's off a little bit, I've got enough range of motion in here to move this over. I am going to have to get some thicker washers just so these don't dent when I put things in, but everything is sorting out quite nicely. So I need to take this one off, do the gussets on that, clean it up. I think I'm going to have a much easier time cleaning this one up because this hole was a lot better. And there's just a little bit less work to do in there. And I am going to put another bolt that's going to go into this. It'll help tuck in that gap a little bit, sort of clean things up quite a bit. I've added paint bed mounts on here underneath build rear bed mounts. Unfortunately, I'm not going to check this off because that's not totally done. In the next video, we're going to pick up, and I am going to keep chipping away on these bed mounts in the next video, but I do actually really want to talk about my motor and why the truck isn't running yet. I've had a couple people asking some questions. That's probably the most common question I get, both on YouTube, Instagram, and in person. It's like, hey, why can't you drive the car? The motor is in there. It turns over. It seems to work. Why can't you drive the truck? I just said car a few minutes ago. So I'm definitely going to explain that in the next video, and I'll be able to film that short enough that I can get it edited out before the holidays or Christmas or whatever. But I am going to keep being out here in the garage during that time as well. So thanks for watching this video. I know it's coming out a lot later than expected. Sunday is the goal that I try to hit. This video is probably going to drop on Tuesday. It is what it is. Thank you to everyone who's been tuning in lately. I've gotten a lot of new viewers, a lot of new comments, people who aren't familiar with me or the truck, and that is great. Thank you very much for watching me work on the truck myself and here in the garage. I hope to see you in the next video, which won't be too long. Thanks again for watching. Talk to you later.